So, welcome back from lunch. Thank you, everybody. I have a few minutes to talk about legacy test systems. Now, I just want to clear the air because I'm appearing as Tenet Technologies. I attended the first GDevCon ANZ as Tenet Technologies because this is my company. We still are selling motion controllers for LabVIEW. But this year I have a new identity because we've opened up a shop for discontinued and EOL NI products called ExtendTest. And as the name may imply, we extend the life of NI test systems. And today I'd like to talk to you about legacy test systems, maintain or replace. Just a show of hands, how many people have ever inherited a project or a system to maintain for somebody else? Yes? Oh, wow. We got a full house. Okay. Next question. How many people have inherited one of these projects have found out that maybe one of the components or the modules is now discontinued? Okay, so about half the room. And, now I'm obviously just trying to set up my talk here, but you can imagine the pain or the anxiety if you have a technical support problem and you're trying to fix the module, which is now discontinued. You're trying to find help, you can't find help. Even if you want to replace it, you introduce more complexity and more risk into the system. So do you replace, do you maintain? It's a very hard question to answer. But here in this lightning talk, we'll kind of skim through the topic and let you know about a few options that ExtendTest has to offer. Okay, so about me, I'm a LabVIEW architect. Well, I would say I'm a former LabVIEW architect. My eyes aren't very good anymore because I've been staring at LabVIEW wires for the past 10 years. Now they call it computer eye syndrome, where if I stare at a screen for too long, my eyes are very, very dry. And the doctors told me it's not very good for my eyes. So although Asian people, we don't age very well. But I am 45 going on 46. For some of the younger people who use LabVIEW, please take care of your eyes. Yes, so previously I represented Tenet Technologies for motion control products. This is a 4-axis motion control board specifically designed for LabVIEW. And now I also run ExtendTest. We source and resell NI-EOL hardware. I will note that we are not an official NI distributor, so we don't claim any rights to use the NI logo, trademark, whatsoever. We are just a mom and pop shop. And so hopefully we don't get into any legal trouble. Thank you. Thank you. So look us up. We're on www.extendtest.co, and we help engineers keep old NI systems alive. All right. So let's talk about the problem. Why test systems must last. I mean, test systems are complex enough and they're deeply integrated. You have the hardware, software, calibration, and wiring. And if you change one part, it really changes the whole system, right? And if we think about the various industries with long lifetime requirements, we've got medical, we've got aerospace, we've got military. We even have academic solutions that need to be lasted for 15, 20 years. And sometimes I was just talking with a gentleman, we have no idea how long a project may need to keep running. Like we may have designed a test system and said, oh yeah, the most we're going to use is maybe 3 to 5 years. But 10 years down the line, somebody asks you and say, hey, how do we keep this thing running? Do you throw it all away? Do you have the cash to buy just a brand new one? It depends. So if we think about it, redesigns are costly, are time consuming, and inherently they're risky because you're changing things. Now, legacy systems often still meet performance needs. And so by and large, extending the life of a test system saves time, money, and avoids waste. If you have a car, you've been using it for 5 to 10 years. Let's say if you have a flat tire, do you throw the whole car out and get a new one? Of course, if you have the cash. If you're Elon Musk, if you have the cash, do it. But for most people, the ROI is very case by case and situational. Okay, so the problem is, for many of you, NI lovers of LabVIEW, and you've been using different components such as motion, vision, FlexReel. Anybody remember SCXI? Yes? Yeah, not around anymore. Now, to be fair, it's, and I cannot support every product for infinity, right? It's just not possible. So it's reasonable for products to have a 10 to 15 year life cycle. But recently, toward portfolio changes or strategy changes, you may have things getting lost, such as motion. And which is why, Tenet Technology was started with motion control. But as we sold more motion control, customers started asking us, hey, by the way, do you have this thing? Do you have that thing? And we said, we can't design everything in the world and redesign it the way, and I did it. But the customer insisted, we want this original drop-in replacement to sustain our system. So then we started finding the secondhand EOL parts from our local market. We started sourcing. And so redesign means revalidation, and the ROI is very situational. Okay, so for most people, if you want to keep using the same part, you're being forced to turn to eBay or Taobao. Now, not to villainize eBay or anything, I get many things from eBay as well, but you run the risk of counterfeits. If all of you are interested, I actually have a counterfeit data acquisition unit on our booth table just to show you what a fake one looks like and what a real one looks like. So you may get some INAD, which is item not as described, right? And you may also get price gouging because after all, it is a free economy, supply demand, right? And sometimes it's not as described, it's a big waste of time because they advertise something as A, but you get something as B. Not very user-friendly. So what Extentest offers, we specialize in special hard-to-find end-of-life parts. Everything is tested and backed by warranty. And the special thing about us is that because we know NI products, even if you have a component or a system, people have asked us to test the whole system as a whole to get the function that they need before we ship it out. So we've helped teams in aerospace, defense, semi to avoid expensive redesigns. If you need a part, just give us the part number and we'll take care of the rest. For most things we do have in stock. For things that we don't have in stock, we'll send out our hounds globally and try to hunt one down for you. Okay? All right, so a few case studies. This is a customer from South Africa, the SALT, South African Large Telescope. It is actually the southernmost observatory in the world because they're around the Cape of Good Hope. They used to use old PXI system and a motion board for the telescope alignment control. They found that the board was corroded and that they needed a replacement. This is a funny story, by the way. Though I insisted, I said, we have a brand new motion controller for you to use, and it's supported. You don't need to, dig through eBay or anything. And they said, you know what? It's not about the price of your board. It's about the cost and the time for me to change the cabling, to change the software, to change the form factor. Every time that they have to dive into that observatory and make changes, they need to get a special permit to get into the observatory and change things around. So it's very, very complicated and very, very troublesome. We would just rather have the same NI board. But I said, they don't make them anymore. What do you expect them to? What do you expect? How can I service you? That was the requirement, and so we started looking for these boards. And so to give this customer what they needed, we delivered the NI parts to them, South Africa, with quality assurance and warranty. If anything happens, we have backup units that we're ready to send them at their request. So this is SALT. We have another customer called Agilent. They have a big medical department. The Rapid-Fire 365 is a mass spectrometer system. As you may have caught a common theme because most of these customers are looking for motion. We're trying to sell them the new motion. They say, no, 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 just give me the old motion. And we say, why? They say, well, honestly, these systems have been deployed worldwide, a few hundred systems. It would be crazy for us to change the configuration. They would have to recall all the systems and do it over again. And by the way, the new generation is releasing soon. So this is really just a sunset system. We're not looking to break the bank and make this into a new thing. Just give me the old thing. And so that's what we did. They rejected the proposal to use other motion systems such as Tenet, boohoo, but we supplied them the old NI 7344 motion controllers. This third one, the final one, is a very interesting semiconductor PXI testing fleet story. So the customer, they had the PXI system on the right, but it had a very old PXI controller with a slow CPU. Now, the customers, they were being asked to boost the throughput. So basically, they found that the bottleneck was because of the CPU, and they wanted faster CPU. Now, many of you who have been using PXI, you know that PXI, the old PXI platform, is now being urged to be replaced by the PXI Express platform. So it's very hard to find a powerful CPU on the old PXI platform. So obviously, you know, because me having worked at NI as a former seller as well, and I proposed a full system refresh, you know, with all the good intentions, all the bells and whistles, a powerful PXI Express controller, PXI Express chassis, with all the refresh of the modules. And of course, the quotation was monumental, right? But again, for sunsetting applications, customers just don't have enough budget. And this is each system, and they have 10 of these. So a full refresh for 10 of these would just blow up their budget. So they turned to us for a MIXI solution. If people, some people are familiar with MXI, MIXI, it's basically a bridged PCI bus solution. So you can keep the stuff on the right, which is all the modules that you've invested in, but then you can upgrade the CPU using a powerful, you know, 8-core, 16-core, whatever core CPU that you wanted. So creative ways to keep the system alive. We don't really have to throw out the thing, and we can avoid costly system redesigns. So that's kind of the final story. And lastly, to answer my own question, legacy systems, maintain or replace, well, it really depends. It's very situational, and behind it, it may be a business decision as well. Think about it. If we just go for maintain, like the SALT, the telescope application, they just want to keep the status quo, keep it the same, use the same parts if available. If available, we also do consulting for equivalent replacements. If A doesn't work, maybe we can have a workaround. Some people, they may want to have an upgrade, you know, just use a car, implementing aftermarket parts. You could swap out for a higher spec module. You could add RAM. You could add SSD, a solid state drive. That works wonders for your old PXI controller. You could upgrade the CPU through some creative ways, such as MIXI, you know? And for replacement, it's really when the current infrastructure, the chassis or the mainframe, if you will, if it does not sustain the current needs, then you really need to consider a full system refresh. Okay. So with that, I know we kind of scratched the tip of the iceberg. It's a very deep and controversial, discussion. But the main takeaway I want for this crowd to take away is this matters to us as test engineers, as developers, because legacy systems are often still reliable and they're effective. You can keep customers happier for longer. You could ease the transition from an old platform to a new platform, and you can build a resilient and sustainable test setup that is bulletproof. You know, somebody was just asking me, I did not have any plans to maintain my system for over 5 years, and now it's year 10. What do I do? Well, honestly, Extend Test, we're your backup plan. We're your plan B. And so we help you protect long-term engineering investments. Let's connect. This is my email, john.wu@extendtest.co. WhatsApp, you can reach me, instant messaging, extendtest.co, LinkedIn. We don't sell parts, we keep production alive. And with that, I'll leave this up. I'll come back to this slide, but some photos. Anybody here remember Nintendo or in the 80s? Yeah, I love Nintendo. You know what? I have a fetish. I keep my old toys, like the Voltrons, with the five lions. I had the styrofoam box, everything with the manuals and everything. I kept everything so pristine. My mother, she was so surprised. She actually, when I left home for college, she gave out my toys without me knowing. And I was very, very mad. Very, very mad because I kept it in such great shape. But anyways, I've taken that passion now and applied it to NI stuff. I mean, look at it, a virtual bench. We acquired this virtual bench. Did you know the virtual bench, it was made out of, kind of eco material, and the plastic would get kind of melty and it would be sticky. We used alcohol and, we wiped it down so that it would be smooth and not slick and not like mucky. All sorts of things. And I was telling somebody at my booth, when I visited a university, there was a teacher. He walked out with a full wheelbarrow of my reels, like 10 my reels. They were collecting dust. They were kind of nasty, and all the boxes were chewed up by the rodents and so forth. I said, wait, teacher, where are you going with this thing? He said, I'm retiring. Nobody can teach this thing anymore, so I'm just going to chuck them in the bin. I said, teacher, let me make you a cash offer. I'll buy the wheelbarrow outright. Give me the wheelbarrow. I'll need it to wheel it out. And I will find someone else that will need these resources. There may be somebody in Mexico.
In Mexico, actually.
Exactly. Yeah, there may be somebody in Indonesia, which I also have customers in. It's a big world. And I hate seeing resources going to waste. So perhaps with that in mind, if you have anything lying on your back shelf that needs to be cleared out, let me know. And we do buy, sell, trade as well. So with that. Yes, I've bought from Chris before. Yeah, and he's also bought from me. So with that, this is my contact information. John Wu from Extend Test. If you have any discontinue ELL needs or needs for NI system refresh, upgrade, maintain, let me know and let's chat. Okay, thank you.